with the rapid success that Ubisoft had with Just Dance. At the start of the 2010s, it's no surprise that other companies may have wanted to cash in on this by making their own dance-focused games. Some of them simply being inspired while others are clearly nothing more but a ripoff meant to trick unsuspecting grandmas trying to find the game her grandchild has been asking for. This got me curious, so I decided to look into these bootlegs and see what I could find. While doing some research, I soon found out that this isn't really a topic that has been discussed much. So hey, my name is Jasper and come along with me as we discuss some surely inspired games down to the most cheap cash grabs I could find. I'll be going in order from the somewhat similar games down to the worst and obvious ripoff Just Dance games that are actually out there. So I hope you enjoy and get a good laugh like I did. To get one thing straight, I do not consider the Dance Central series to be ripoffs. I online included them because many people from what I've seen love to compare and hate on either Just Dance or Dance Central depending on preference. As a JD channel you can clearly see my preference, but I think for what it is the Dance Central games aren't bad either. They're actually quite different in a lot of ways. In terms of aesthetic, Dance Central is much more toned down. You can choose from a selection of animated coaches and locations to dance in. And I think one thing that Dance Central has over Just Dance is 3 difficulties per song, these being easy, medium, or hard. The gameplay looks nice from what I have seen, and there's 5 games currently available: Dance Central 1, 2, 3, Spotlight, and VR. I plan to make a more in-depth comparison video at some point, so I'll keep it short. I would say this series isn't too bad. Okay, first off, why is there so many of these? There are 7 of them consisting of Zumba Fitness 1 and 2, Core, Rush, World Party, Kids, and Burn It Up. But besides that, this definitely won't be the worst we look at today. The first game has kinda A graphics, but I honestly prefer it to the kind of uncanny animated dancers that the later sequels have. It looks like they just pasted human faces onto animated dancers and called it a day. But thankfully they went back to the human coaches in later games. The song lists are kinda meh, though they only feature a few songs by actual artists. Then the rest of them are made by Zumba themselves. The kids game looks very similar to the Just Dance kids games in my opinion, but yeah, I don't have too else much to say about them. They share slight similarities, but besides that I think they've made a decent name for themselves. At least the choreographies look like good workouts. Alright, so this game is kinda weird to me for multiple reasons. First off, it feels more like a karaoke game, with a Just Dance style mode added in at the last second. It looks funny to me, cause it's nothing more than a dancer pasted in the corner of a music video. And secondly, I couldn't find any proper gameplay for this one, so you have to deal with bad recordings of someone's TV screen. And what is it with Gaga giving poker face to everyone but Just Dance? Like literally half of these games I'm talking about have it in their song list. But anyway, yeah, this game isn't really anything special, it just feels like they needed to include dancing to get in on trend at the time. The execution isn't that good though in my opinion. From what I found, the dancers are kind of offbeat, or don't put as much effort into the choreos, which are also sometimes bad. So I would say this game is pretty mediocre at best. Still kinda funny though.
Don't you wish your girlfriend was a freak like me? Don't you?
I just decided to pair the games together because they're both by Nick, but for being by such a big company, they look really bad. The Nick games one, and to remind me a lot of the god-awful Smurf spin-off that Ubisoft made, but we don't talk about that. The characters look poorly animated and soulless. I'm not sure what kid would enjoy this. This is even more obvious in the big-time Rush game. The graphics look so poorly made and cheap. It looks like a game from 2000, but this was released in 2011. Everything about this game is just bad and it only has 17 songs. The game is so badly made it's funny to me, and gives me the vibe of a cash grab to make money off of the band's short-lived success at the time. The style of the game looks a lot like Dance on Broadway, so I guess they wanted to copy Ubisoft in some way. But yeah, if it wasn't clear, no, these games look really bad. It's sad to say, but it definitely only gets worse from here. I don't have much to say for this one, but I thought I should still include it. But first off, this game is made by the same developers of the Zumba games, which I thought was kind of interesting. And for being a licensed Grease game, it's funny to me that the game uses covers and the budget feels kind of low. But honestly, this game looks more similar to Dance Central. The cartoony dancers look pretty funny, but I'm kinda grateful they didn't tempt any realism, cause we've seen where that gets you with a low budget. Based on the title of this game, you'd think that Mel B would be the dancer for the game, right? But no, she only explains the rules and stares into your soul while you're on the menu, which is really funny and honestly kind of misleading. It's no surprise that in other regions the game is simply called Let's Dance. She really serves no purpose besides that, so it feels like they only slapped her name on the box to convince people to buy the game somehow. Anyway, besides that, the game has some good songs, but it still feels pretty soulless and doesn't have much character to it. The choreography isn't the worst though, I'll say that much. Okay, so imagine Michael Jackson, The Experience, or ABBA. You can dance but with a very low budget. Yeah. This is what you end up with, and it personally isn't great. The graphics and editing of the dancers looks really bad. The outfits are also really plain looking. Everything about this game looks so flat and soulless, which is a shame cause a Kylie game has some potential, but this game's execution is really poor. It definitely has some Just Dance elements to it but failed badly. Kylie should have came knocking on Ubisoft's door if she wanted a game, lol. I'll make this one quick since it's honestly nothing special. But at first glance it's easy to see Just Dance inspiration they got. The game feels kinda low effort, I mean nothing stands out. It features 32 songs from musicals. The choreos are alright I guess, and the editing on the dancers is pretty meh. Overall, this is a pretty forgettable looking game, I'd say. The first mobile JD ripoff so far. And yes, this is made by the Sega, but for being by a multi-billion-dollar game company, this game looks really bad. It feels cheap and they could have put more effort into it even if it is a mobile game. I couldn't find a proper gameplay video for the Sony either, sadly. But from what I could find, the gameplay looks really lacking. It's nothing more than a shadowed out animated dancer with a generic background for every song, plus a lot of the songs were songs that were already in Just Dance, so they were really grasping for straws with this one. It's a pretty funny attempt at a JD clone considering it came from Sega.
Shake that.
Okay, these keep getting hilariously worse. Right off the bat, the editing and outfits on these dancers is horrible. Like, oh my god, I've seen fan-made maps with much better editing than this, it's sad. The wigs look like they're from Party City. Everything about this game screams no effort, it's honestly kind of shocking. The green screen job is terrible and the dancers look like rainbow blobs. The choreos are also hilariously bad, and the dancers are putting no passion into it, I'm sorry for going in on them so hard, but this game was clearly on a budget of $10 and nothing more lol. I'm so surprised this game got put on shelves. And I'm sorry to anyone who bought this. This game gets nothing more than a 0/10. They didn't try at all. It's the worst Just Dance ripoff. So far it's funny.
We'll be forever young, 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 young. You know we're superstars. We are who we are.
Okay, this game has to be a joke. It only has 12 songs. Anyone would get bored of that so quickly. More than half of them were already in Just Dance, so they really didn't put enough effort in to hide the fact it's a JD clone. The whole game feels very flat, and the choreos are not the best in the slightest. This is just another low-effort attempt to cash in on the trend. We have to take a moment of silence to watch this dancer try to move in this dress lol. I thought this was really interesting, but I couldn't find too much information on this sadly, but there is a YouTube channel with videos of people dancing along to what looks like another JD clone. It's really odd that not much is known about what this game may be or if it's even real, but the editing of the coaches looks pretty bad, so I guess we aren't missing out on much. This game is basically a Dance Dance Revolution. And Just Dance had a baby butt, really bad. The song list is full of songs that were already on JD, so they didn't try to hide the fact that they tried to rip off JD. Plus the dancers are honestly a thing of nightmares. They move in such an uncanny way it's a bit creepy. The fact they look like a shadow that would stand in the corner of my room doesn't help either. This game looks boring otherwise, and it's nothing more than a poorly made attempt to capitalize on the success of other dance games. They even sold a dance pad thing with arrows. Just like Dance Dance Revolution, the choreos are so lazy and have no effort. It's sad. They're nothing more than flailing your arms round lol. I can't tell what's worse. The fact this game rips off JD or the fact it's nothing but counter music. Okay, I'm kidding, but it's very clear to see that this game copied JD's gameplay. They really didn't try to switch up anything. It's like those homework memes. I find it creepy that the dancers have facial features like a nose but no details like eyes or a mouth, but they fixed that in the sequel, I guess. The dancers are animated, so they look really stiff but other. Wise, I'd say the choreo isn't too bad honestly, although this game surely still has its issues. They remade the sequel for Xbox 360, and it literally copies everything from Dance Central. So the people behind this seem to lack when it comes to their own creativity, it seems. If Ubisoft made a K-pop themed JD would be really successful now. So this game was definitely ahead of its time, but the execution is really not that good. It's so clear to see the JD inspiration, except they made everything look really unappealing to the eyes. I'm not sure how to describe it, but the backgrounds look really dim and feel so flat. The editing on the dancers is also very poorly done. It looks like they pasted a weird filter on them and called it a day, plus you can still see the green screen on them. A lot of them also look like they don't want to be there. Their expressions are so emotionless. And they don't put much effort into the choreo, which takes away from the fun honestly. This game looks quite choppy, though I think with better development a K-pop dancing game would have been really cool. Hopefully not one that makes a sad attempt at copying Just Dance though. I'm kind of surprised by how bad this game is. It's what inspired me to make this video. You remember searching up Just Dance on the Nintendo shop and this game popped up, so I looked further into it. And it's what sent me down this rabbit hole of awful ripoffs, I think. It's weird that Nintendo had the nerve to advertise this game alongside Just Dance in the shop, but that's beside the point. Anyway, everything about this game screams cheap and bootleg. The game looks like it was made in 3 days with an iPhone. The graphics and menu look so lazy. It's very ugly to look at with its garish colors. And PowerPoint-looking menu. The dancers yet again have a weird filter over them, and the editing is so choppy and ugly. Their costumes look cheap too, with no effort put into them. And the choreos are really boring and repetitive. I wish I could ask the developers what went through their minds when making this. I'm sorry for going in so hard, but it's honestly laughable how bad this is, and how clearly it's trying to copy HD. I genuinely don't know how anyone could enjoy this game. It looks terrible. It's very lazy, and this game only has 20 songs. That's barely enough, honestly. Plus, the backgrounds look like they're made up of PNG images. This is such a sad excuse of a JD copycat. They didn't even try. This game is basically JD but if it was a cheap app game. They had no shame copying the avatars, and they even tried to mimic some backgrounds like You Make Me Feel and We Are Who We Are, which I find pretty pathetic of them to do. And the choreos are honestly kind of bad. All the dancers wear some very basic clothes with no thought put into them. It's kind of boring. This game only has 7 songs that sound like royalty-free music you'd find on YouTube. Besides that, this game is just another cheap copy and is pretty boring. I have nothing more to say, lol. This is probably the most well-known JD copycat, and for not so good reasons. This game is Sony's attempt to get in on the dance game trend, and I'd say they failed pretty badly. They literally made 3 of these. The choreos are honestly really stale and repetitive. They're very low effort. Anyone would get bored of this so fast, lol. And the dancers all look like they're in a poorly lit room. It's so hard to tell what they're doing at times. I'm not sure who thought this was a good aesthetic choice. And they barely put effort into the costuming for these dancers. The most we ever got was this god-awful thing, which is just But anyway, the backgrounds aren't much better either. They all consist of a flat background with some effects and music videos pasted on the side. The design for this game, such as the menu, is so plain too. For a dance game, it has no fun visual interest to it. It's funny to me that the dancers also hold a PS Move controller, which restricted this game from branching out on other consoles. What fascinates me is they never tried anything new or tried to switch up the game at all. You could take a song from the first and third game, and there's no difference. The only positives to this game is the song list, and the editing is much better than others we've looked at, but still 1/10 lol. If you thought the previous games had no shame copying JD, you haven't seen anything yet. First off, the cover copies the Just Dance to cover perfectly down to a T. Everything from the colorful dancers on the dance floor to the bold white logo. They have no shame. And second, live gameplay itself, oh my god, I'm kind of speechless. They really put their all into copying off of Ubisoft LMAO. The dancers look so out of breath and offbeat, it's hilarious. The choreos have no charm or passion in them, and the dancers' clothes have no thought either. They're also basic. I'm honestly just speechless with how poorly made this game was and how clear of a bootleg it is. The backgrounds are again just the music videos, and it's kind of ugly and bulky looking with the player join thing at the bottom. It feels like they put all their budget into the song list cause it has some decent stuff. And with the rest of their money, they tried their best to mimic Just Dance now. It's so sad to me. I'm genuinely surprised no one else has brought this game up before. Here's yet another app game, but this one you play with a smartwatch. How fun, right? Seriously though, who is this fooling? I found this channel which doesn't look like it would be the game's official one, but it has a lot of adverts for it, so I guess it is. This channel posted stolen JD game plays and titled them as being from Huru Dance. Also in these ads they even copied the transitions from Ubisoft. So I mean, I appreciate their attention to detail. And while watching these I noticed they copied JD's choreography for Toxic. So they really don't have any shame in themselves. The songs in this game are honestly pretty good and the choreos are good too. Although they might have stolen these too, but the editing and outfits on these dancers is again pretty bad, what a shocker, and a lot of them dance quite lazily, which I got a laugh out of. Whoever made this game definitely isn't afraid of a potential lawsuit from Ubisoft Mao. Yes, finally the last and certainly least. This game not only stole from JD by using their coach for Only Girl in the World and taking the background from Bad Boy, but they also took fan-mades from passionate JD fans like Redo, Citron, and more, which I find scummy for a company to do. Besides that though, this game literally tried to mimic everything from JD, from its HUD, to the menu, to the loading screen, and even the scoring screen. On their menu they rested a tab with a very familiar logo to teach you TikTok dances. Nothing here is original. The choreos can be either decent or really, really bad. I mean, and what is this, like semen now? The outfits are all really bad, which I mean, hey, what a surprise, right? I will say the one thing they got right was the editing on the coaches. They could have passed for real JD coaches about 4 years ago. I even remember this one in particular being falsely shared as a JD league at one point. I'm honestly surprised with how evidently this company tried to fool people by copying JD.